All right, everybody, welcome back to Beans No Ball Week 9 recap. And, honestly, we got two very different ways that we're looking at this week, but we'll get into it in just a bit. And, the way it lines up, I get to start with the Thursday nighter, something that I didn't really get to watch much, but, I'll do it the best I can. Texans, Jets. This one definitely a shocker. Obviously, we got this one. Oh, we both got it wrong, expecting the Texans to, definitely have a better result against a struggling Jets team. But look, for the Jets, as much as, I think we could both agree the season's still pretty much over, all things considered, but it was just a phenomenal get-back win for them. To see Garrett Wilson absolutely go off, gets me 30 points in fantasy. We'll see how it goes. We're going against each other, see if that...
You still got Kareem Hunt, so...
I got Kareem Hunt, which...
He needs 23.
Let's see, this part of the video is being recorded before the Monday Nighter, so let's see how this one, by the end of this video. But... Garrett Wilson showed out. Devontae got a touchdown. He's finally looking in sync with Rodgers once again. And, the only real blemish we could talk about, that bonehead Malachi Corley fumble that should have been a touchdown. But, apart from that, really good win for the Jets. And look, on Houston's side, you don't put too much into it considering, their division still looking pretty rough. Their biggest competition, the Colts, they're in their own situation. So, division-wise, they don't look too hard. It's just when you look at it, a loss like this, you look down the stretch, when you think about seeding, this could be the difference between the 2 seed and the 3 seed, 3 seed and the 4 seed. This could be a loss that they look back on and could have gotten a more favorable seeding.
Yeah, it's such an unfortunate loss for the Texans here. Obviously the absence of Diggs with him and Taysom Hill in the season, it's really going to take a toll there. But the connection to him and Dell, it is going to get going. Hopefully after this loss, we're going to be a wake up call for them. In the defense, same with them. They looked a little sloppy there, but for sure to take a switch around there. And now moving on to the Cowboys game. They finally got a 10 a.m. game, and once again, it's the same thing all over again. I'm just going to point out the big stuff. Dak Prescott, his hamstring. We saw he got out the game with the hamstring. I thought it was going to be a pinky as well, but it is a hamstring, so he will be sidelined for the next couple 8 weeks. Season's pretty much over for that there. CD, he's dealing with I think it was the
hip sprain
in his shoulder.
Right?
It was his shoulder.
No. London.
Yeah, London. Oh, London too. London also got injured in the game, which I'll get into. But CD with the shoulder injury, he wanted to be out there. He wanted to fight to hopefully come back with the win there. Didn't help a lot. So CD's probably going to be out 1 to 2 weeks if it is a major injury. But he's looking to play against a really big game against Philly next week. This is just another disappointing loss for the Cowboys. They're running it. I don't know what's with them and starting off really good on the first drive, settling for a field goal, and then just shit in the bucket after. Because I saw Fergie getting active in the pass game, and I thought it was going to be a really nice Ferguson game for once, but that obviously wasn't the call there. The O-line it's still chopped. It's not giving Dak any pass protection as well. Dak, too, he's got to throw away the ball sometimes. He's got to throw away the ball. I know you want to extend the play. You would hope one of your receivers to get open there. But the Falcons, they're doing a good job of containing all their pass catchers, especially CeeDee Lamb. Once CeeDee gets contained, it's really hard for other guys like Jalen Tolbert, Kevontae Tolbert to really get a separation open in the pass game as well. And obviously, still with Brandon Cook still leaving a huge detriment in that pass game. The O-line was so chopped. Dak looked really, really sloppy. I'm still going to defend him. That O-line's not giving him justice there, but I'm not going to, put too much on him. But he did make a lot of costly mistakes there in the game there. He tried to clutch up for those for the most part, but he just couldn't get it done when it really mattered. The O-line's there. The defense, same thing as well. It's still time between Michael Parsons to return against Philly next week there. But all around, this team's just dysfunctional. This 3-5, parallel from the 2018 team where we start 3-5 and open up the next week with Philly. Dallas going to make a playoff run like that. Same thing with 2020. Dak signs that big deal. He gets injured. The defense is horrible. It's just another dysfunctional year for this Dallas Cowboys team. Thankfully, Mike McCarthy hopefully gets fired.
Well, we'll see if Jerry still wants to keep his pawn around. But, rough loss for you guys. The Falcons, above all else, they keep hitting their stride, stay atop the South, and they're like we've been saying with Kirk Cousins and his weapons, they're still looking pretty good now. Move it into the Dolphins and the Bills, another really very important divisional game here in the AFC East. Definitely expected this one to not be as close as this one, but look, hey, for the Dolphins, Tua's looking great. Post injury, probably did expect him to, not be at this level. He's shutting up a lot of doubters, and we see when he takes off and runs, the announcers are starting to get worried, and he goes down, and the crowd starts celebrating. So obviously, nice little thing to look at there. But just overall, great to see him succeeding. Jalen Waddle, phenomenal game for him, getting those 2 touchdowns. Just really starting to live up, at least in this game, living up to that big contract he got in the offseason. And Look, it was just a shame that that late pass interference for Jordan Poyer, still helping out the Bills, really pretty much setting up the Bills in prime position to get that game-winning field goal. But on the Bills side, just overall, this offense is absolutely clicking. I mean, sure, it was a close game, but definitely wasn't on Josh Allen. I mean, he had that one interception, absolutely not his fault. Kind of was on Keon Coleman to not bring that ball in, but. That was probably the only bad thing in Keon Coleman's game throughout this game, and getting another touchdown still looks really strong with his connection with him. And look, I mean, you lose your star acquisition from last week in Amari Cooper, didn't really do nothing to this offense. Still look phenomenal. And I mean, the Bills are just really starting to run away with this AFC East. See how much they can keep this momentum going.
Yeah, at least for the most part, it does look like Tua and the offense is still getting going. The run game is getting active there, but from the looks of the season, it's kind of coming to an end there, especially the way they played against here. Who knows what could happen, but it's really a slim chance. And now moving on with the Raiders and the Bengals, and this is just another dominant win for this Bengals team, finally bouncing back after starting off really slow once again for the first half of the season. Joe Burrow's finally clicking with this offense there, and then another guy too. This time it wasn't Jamar Chase picking it up for the receiving end. It was, who would have guessed it, Mike Gesicki, who they ended up picking up this season. 5 catches, 100 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So what a day for Gesicki. I know there's a lot of guys out there with a clutch waiver wire for him. Hopefully he keep up like that as well there too. And the run game, Chase Brown. I know he could be a little, up there, down there, steep incline, decline, but 27 carries, 120 yards for this rush game really did help Burrow. But 5 touchdown passes for Burrow. This is really what solidified this Bengals team win. In the defense, sure, it's the Raiders. We know how dysfunctional their offense can be, but again, the defense, they really held their own there, especially against this Raiders team with the quarterback situation. Can't really get it going whatsoever there. But this was just a straight dominant win for this Bengals team. And now looking into the standings of the AFC East, their run, it's looking very, very doable there. It just depends if they don't go through another steep decline. And as for the Raiders, like I mentioned, the quarterback situation, it's not looking good here. At this point, just embrace the tank. The defense, they can't hold their own for Mission Possible there. The run is not even there as well there. Leaves more trouble for the quarterback. But the main issue with the Raiders, and we've been saying this all season, and it's going to keep being the all season, it's their quarterback issue.
Yeah, those offensive struggles continue for the Raiders, and obviously, like we just saw, Luke Getsy has been fired, so maybe we'll see if, the play calling issues would have been, if that's going to be something that can help the Raiders moving forward. But keeping it in both of these divisions, the Chargers and the Browns, another game that we definitely had the wrong idea on this one. We really expected the Browns, obviously, Jabo expected him to keep that nice streak going. Looks like the little insanity's done there. We see him get 3 interceptions. Look like something's never changed. Obviously Jameis Winston, back to those old ways, but not really much more to say about the Browns. It just looks like they're gonna be just really back on that streak. And as for the Chargers, just everything seems to be clicking. Just this offense as a whole just looked phenomenal. Herbert came out firing, of course, 282 yards and 2 touchdowns, just looking great for him. Would have been a nice idea to start him over Dak in fantasy for me, but we'll that's can't do nothing about that. And the run game, obviously something that helped you. J.K. Dobbins just absolutely phenomenal. He's definitely been, had a great start to the season. Had a couple shitters down the stretch, and he's been pretty streaky, but this one really helping him here. And Quentin Johnston, someone else that really looked phenomenal. I was getting that 70-yard touchdown from, I believe he had 2 touchdowns in this one, both of them coming from, both of Herbert's touchdown coming for him. Really starting to come back from that rough rookie season he had. Really starting to look like a viable option for this Chargers offense. Yeah,
the one thing with the Chargers that really need to get clicking is getting the weapons surrounded for Herbert to get adjusted. The run game with Dobbins to get it going early. And it's just the one thing that Herbert's been needing throughout his whole career. And now moving on to I guess a pretty boring matchup that kind of got tense towards the end there, the Patriots and the Titans. Now, this was pretty much a snooze fest up until the 4th quarter, which it really got intense there. But I want to say thing for Drake May. I'm going to say he's definitely going to be the future for the Raiders there. He's going to need the Patriots, excuse me. He's definitely their future. He's had some good bright spots. He's had some down spots there. But when you're looking at him around him, he doesn't have a viable one option. I mean, his leading receiver was Hunter Henry. He doesn't have a viable run game as well. Once again, it was their leading rusher in this game for 95 yards. Rhamondre Stevenson gonna get 10 carries for 16 yards as well. Although he did come in clutch for him for the tie-up touchdown in the fourth quarter, sitting in overtime. So that is something there. But with the pieces that surrounded around Drake May, it's gonna be a struggle with this Patriots team, man. Look, they're 2-7. Again, this is another team just embrace the tank, see what Drake May still has in him to get the pass game involved, get him some weapons in the offseason, this and that. Too early to already start that there, but that's the best part for this Patriots team. Mayo, he just needs, again, more pieces. This defense, it's looking good for the most part. Gonzo, build around Gonzo. That is the one thing this defense is going to need to do to succeed in this whole team around. The Titans, on the other hand, it's really nice to see Tony Pollard balling out on a system that actually working out for him. 28 carries for 120 yards. Really nice to see that injury wasn't a reason why his career is, having a downfall there. And Mason Rudolph, 240, 2 touchdown interception, really kept the Titans in this game. But that overtime win, there's little struggles on that drive, towards the red zone there. Thankfully, Drake May's rookie mistake to chucking it deep into double coverage, which solidified the deal with interception from Amani Hooker there. So both these teams, big shambles there, but just embrace the tank.
Yeah, I mean, I'm firmly there with you. I mean, obviously, we talked about this ever since the Patriots drafted Drake May. Really seemed like, this was probably the worst situation to go into. But look, that touchdown to close out the game, that shows Patriots fans a lot of good flashes. And look, in the future, you build around him, you build around Gonzo, like you're saying. I mean, look, they could have something for the future to move forward on. And, something, that's just, got to wait for just a little bit. But move it into the Commanders and the Giants. Obviously, this game a lot closer than we expected it. I guess in large part, maybe a little bit of garbage time down the stretch, but regardless, Giants did end up making this one close. It's especially surprising when you consider Daniel Jones' stat line at halftime, just 4 for 6 and 0 yards. Got to be surprising to see your franchise quarterback not get you a single yard going into halftime, but it was still a close game, all things considered. And I mean, look, for the Commanders, I mean, as much as, it's not like, it wasn't a great look to play this way against a pretty lower level division rival. But look, a win's a win. Jaden Daniels still looked good. He managed the game well. And, Terry McLaurin looking scary, obviously, living up to the name, Scary Terry. 2 touchdowns, really keeping that connection, just great to see with him and JD. And look, just closing it out with the Giants. I mean, they did make it a little interesting down the stretch, like we said. Call it garbage time, call it an actual comeback, but I mean, this result was never in doubt.
Yeah, this Commanders team, it's looking really, really scary for the NFC. Nice to see that the Commanders finally got their starting quarterback, and it's the Giants. Same old with Daniel Jones. And now moving on with I shouldn't say nice, but not a pretty good NFC South matchup with the Saints and the Panthers. And let's just say Bryce Young, it's got to feel good for him for finally getting into victory formations. He looked a little bit more comfortable into this game. He did have a pick, but that was on Leggett. He had it right on his hands, then it just got stripped away. So it's very, very unfortunate. But he looked very, very he looked not uncomfortable. He looked very comfortable in the pocket. He was making his throws, and it was looking really nice. The first drive for the Panthers, it was looking pretty decent there. And then from there on, it was just nice for Bryce Young. It was really, good for this whole Panthers team to kind of build around him there. And like I mentioned, the victory formation, it's got to feel good for him. They got to rock with Bryce Young. I know a lot of people already gave up on him. I know me and you already had the things with, could this be Bryce Young ending there? But with the team around him, build around him, and go from there. But this Panthers, this season, still looking like it's not, going to go anywhere there. But at this point, just see what Bryce Young still has left in the tank for this season and see what he's got, for the Panthers. For the Saints, though, Derek Carr, once again, with those hospital balls for Olave, praise to Olave. He's doing good there. I think it's time to put up in the air his Olave career already in the stakes of retiring, or at this point find him a suitable trade partner for Olave. I know he does not want to be in the Saints. His brother was already saying New Orleans wasn't the move for him. This whole team in the shambles, with the firing of Dennis Allen, this whole team could make a move there, but yeah, you got to feel for Olave, and this defense really did sell towards the end to this Carolina Panthers team. Derek Carr, he did what he could, but again, those passes that he's been doing and what he's needing to do with his offense, it's not working out. Kamara had literally a great game with 155 yards on the ground. Sadly, without the whole team is around, didn't get the job done.
Yeah, absolutely. Just taking it back to Bryce Young. I mean, this was the Bryce Young I expected to see early season. I had a lot better expectations for this Panthers team. But look, like you said, it's great to see Bryce Young looking like this. And look, also like you said too, I mean, just ride it out. You know the season's over. Just see how much you can develop him. See what he can learn throughout the year, and you start building it up through for 2025. But move it into another rookie. Well, not a rookie quarterback. Just this one actually being a rookie quarterback in the Broncos and the Ravens. I mean, rough showing for Bo Nix. We'll be honest, but I mean, look, the main thing I will say, we see the miscues, we see the overthrows. That kind of seems to be the concern. When this game still was close, Bo Nix, really seeing those rookie mistakes, if we're being honest. But I mean, just overall, I mean, look, it was a nice run for the Broncos. This early season run has been, pretty good to see for them. But when you see them come up against a high-flying team like the Ravens, it's expected to see those mistakes, be capitalized on. And that's exactly what Baltimore did. This offense on the other side, an absolute buzzsaw. Just, everything was clicking for them. Lamar, 280 yards and 3 touchdowns, putting them up to an unreal 20-2 touchdown to interception ratio. Obviously just solidifying little by little that MVP case. And, Derrick Henry, over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. Zay Flowers, 125 yards and 2 touchdowns. Just everyone cooking on this Ravens offense. Just phenomenal. Sure, the one thing we can say too, the defense looked good, only allowing 10 points. The Ravens defense has been a concern as of late, what was it, allowing, I believe, 30 points in the last 3 games. Definitely looked like a nice get-back game against the Broncos here.
Yeah, they really took advantage of how the team surrounded with the Broncos rookie quarterback. Not a lot of pieces there. Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry just being that nice 1-2 combo, really putting it up for that Ravens team. And now moving on with the Jaguars and the Eagles, and we were starting to see flashes of the last year's Eagles team with choking big leagues. But obviously, once again, they got it done with. Thankfully, the defense was able to step up. Speaking of the Phillies defense, they were looking really, really good in the first half with the young guys, especially Cooper DeJean. He was really making some big plays there. Quinion Mitchell, on the other hand, little shippy. Little iffy here and there, but he was obviously able to bounce back there. So this defense was really on the heels finally. That's one of the things Philly really needed to bounce back, was their defense there. But Jalen Hurts, from the stuff I said about him a couple of weeks ago, telepathically, he probably took that to heart, but he's been really, really comfortable in the past game. He's finally getting it going, 230 yards and 2 touchdowns. Obviously, this choke, it's not on him. We saw that the Jaguars defense, they were getting to them in the second half, with the Saquon fumble that led to the touchdown and the interception, and just a lot of things from there. Trevor Lawrence, though, on the other hand, 2 interceptions, not really helping this Jaguars team, make the comeback. That the run game wasn't there as well there. They really just, they could have won this solely because of their defense, but that offense shot themselves in the foot, with the late interception to the interception of Trevor Lawrence. And Nakobe Dean, which is another guy that, I had some hype for this Eagles defense, really sealing the deal there. And that, there could have been a chance for the Jaguars, but it was just a really, really bad ball from Trevor Lawrence. Really just, I don't want to say one bad ball, just a one-on-one ball, but Nakobe Dean really took advantage of that as, the big, bulky linebacker that he is there. But this Philadelphia Eagles team, they got to match up against my Cowboys next week. Jalen Hurts, he's probably going to feast against us. Same with Saquon.
Yeah, obviously, can't wait to get into that. We'll see obviously, like we've been saying, Jalen Hurts really looking phenomenal, really picking up, building off a rough end last year. We'll see if he can, do good on that Cowboys rivalry. But moving into the Bears and the Cardinals, and definitely expected this one to be a little closer. But hey, Kyler Murray, despite, not really playing that great, he was able to manage this game relatively well. Him and Marvin really weren't looking their best, but that honestly didn't matter when your your run game is playing absolutely phenomenal. Over 200 yards rushing. See Trey Benson and James Conner just, absolutely feasting on the Bears rush D, which has regularly been, of the best rush defense, and definitely, to expose them like that, bodes pretty well for the Cardinals overall. Might be a bit of a stretch, but we saw a little bit of that Sonic and Knuckles type tandem that we see in Detroit out here in Arizona with Benson and Connor. But just overall a very solid win for Arizona, top of the West right now. Just definitely nobody expected that to this point. And for the Bears, just an ugly showing overall. The O-line absolutely killed any momentum that they could have had. Caleb didn't play great just in general, but I think we can put a lot of that on the O-line. And just overall, the main thing that I have to say, Matt Eberflus. To leave Caleb Williams in with about, what was it, like a minute left, you're down 20, and you see Caleb hobbling off. that's the kind of things that you really can't let happen as a head coach. And look, we've seen already 2 head coaches be let go early in the season. We got to say Matt Eberflus has to be the next one.
Yeah, me and you were surprised why he still had the job, in the offseason. The coaching, the management, they're not able to develop players on the Chicago Bears staff. And, Caleb Williams having such a high ceiling, kind of cannot let that happen. And now moving on with another nice division rival in the NFC with the Lions and the Packers. And once again, this Lions team, with the pieces around them, Jared Goff, he really didn't have to do as much to keep the Lions team, secure for this win there. The defense was really on this year against this Packers team, really contained the pass game with Jordan Love in the beginning. The run game, Josh Jacobs didn't get active until the second. And then the really it's just the defense of the Lions that really stepped up today. You're going to come into a really nice matchup against the Packers to really stay at the top of the division there. Sonic and Knuckles, like you mentioned, David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs having another nice duo. Not an explosive like we've been seeing the past couple weeks. Montgomery 73 yards, Gibbs 65 yards and a touchdown. That pretty much solidified the deal for this Lions team. Amon-Ra capping a touchdown there. But this is really all on the defense. When we're looking, if you want to be a box scorer, look, Jared Goff, 145 yards, touchdown. Amon-Ra, 56 yards. I already mentioned the rushing stats of Montgomery and Gibbs. It's this defense. I'm really hyping up this defense for the Lions. They're looking really, really good to kind of keep the pressure off the Lions team and how schematically great they are. As for the Packers, Jordan Love, another week showing not being able to get it going with this pass game for this Packers team. And we see Jayden Reed, he had another great game, really solidifying himself as a receiver one for this Packers team. Josh Jacobs, he tried getting the run game going in the second half. It was working for the most part, but just these simple mistakes that Jordan Love is committing. And then, even Matt LaFleur, some of the play calling was a little iffy there, but with the way the Lions were playing defense, even without Aiden Hutchinson, it's really, really, really scary to look at how this Lions team is going to turn away for the upcoming games they're going to play.
Yeah, obviously, like you said, Aiden Hutchinson being out, and of course, not having Brian Branch for a bit of this game. To see that the Lions defense still cooking with all, just without some of those stars, definitely both pretty scary for the rest of the NFC. And speaking about the top of the NFC, getting into my Rams, obviously, just an absolute gritty win for these guys. Just very excited. One of the more stressful games that I've had to get into in this season. But let's get into it. I want to start with Seattle. First and foremost, I got to say, their defense, I've obviously been very critical about them in some videos. They've been very streaky. They've had one of the worst rush defenses in the league. And, hey, they stepped up, kept Kyren Williams in check, ended his touchdown streak. Kept the offense in check in total, which I'll get into in just a little bit. But offensively for Seattle was the concern. That's why they lost this game. Just reiterating what I've been talking about since last week, this offense without DK Metcalf, Geno specifically without DK Metcalf, it's a completely different team. They blatantly, they look awful just without DK. And sure, JSN, he's had his struggles before, absolutely went off. Got to give my flowers to him. He was the offense in this game for Seattle. Was 180 yards and 2 touchdowns. We don't go to overtime without JSN in this game. And to go it, taking it into the Rams side of things, this is an absolute defensive carry job. We talk about 3 interceptions, 2 of them coming from Cam Kinchens in the red zone, and one of them being a pick six. That pick six also big reason the Rams were able to pull this game out. And the D-line, obviously all those young boys on the D-line, clutch play after clutch play, especially the 4th down stop, which still pretty surprised that Mike McDonald decided to go for it there, but worked in our favor. And, taking it to the offensive side, obviously we looked pretty dead. The game plan was around Puka for the most part. So that ejection, which, I'm not going to fight it. When you throw a punch, you get thrown out. We game plan around him. He gets ejected, kind of does set us back. Looked dead overall. Seattle game plan pretty well for us, but all that was fully negated by that absolute dot to D-Rob in overtime. Just a phenomenal way to finish this out. Also got to mention, pretty terrible officiating on both sides of the ball. Definitely some rough no calls on both sides and some rough calls in general. A roughing the passer on Stafford that absolutely shouldn't happen. A PI on Witherspoon that shouldn't happen. But, digress. We're used to the shitty officiating in this league. But look, for the Rams, man, from 1-4 to 4-4 with a favorable schedule coming up, look out now. The Rams are coming.
Yeah, this Rams team is really stepping up. Puka really didn't make a difference. They're even with ejected, still being able to bounce back with capitalizing off the mistakes of the Seahawks team. Geno Smith on the red zone, really really shot himself in the foot right there. And I'll finally close it off with the Sunday nighter. This one was a snooze fest with the Colts and the Vikings, and the struggles for the Colts, they continue. You bench Aaron Rich before the excuse me, you bench Aaron Rich last week after 2 weeks ago's performance, and you get running with Joe Flacco. And you thought maybe just so maybe the past game with Joe Flacco is going to get a little bit more active, coming into this game with the Vikings there. You expect another big game for Josh Downs, who's really been their main receiver outside of Pittman, who really hasn't been stepping up, or the run game with Jonathan Taylor. It will stop. There's run game. I mean, you stopped at 48 yards. This Vikings defense really shut it down on both ends on the ball there. And Anthony Richardson, everyone wants him to learn from Joe Flacco with this game. Really didn't prove anything there. They dropped to 4-5. This was just another straight, I wouldn't say domination, but a really good, nice bounce back in the second half from this Vikings. I mean, this is pretty snooze first half. Just a lot of mistakes there, trading interceptions here and there. Second half, Sam Darnold, he really turned the corners here. I mean, Justin Jefferson, 137 yards, really got the pass game going there. Josh Oliver got another touchdown, so it's really nice to see for him for this pass game that everyone in this offense is feeding. Aaron Jones, 21 carries for 64 yards. The run game, another pretty decent run game for Aaron Jones, solidifying for Sam Darnold. But again, it's the slow starts. It's the simple mistakes for this Vikings team. They're 6-2. They look like they seem to be bouncing back. But coming for the remaining schedule, they cannot be starting slow. They got to get more creative with this play calling and stop with these simple plays, especially against a really depleting Colts team.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this Vikings offense as a whole. I mean, sure, we've seen that they can be carried by their defense that's been so strong, but little by little, that's gonna wear off. And offensively, they haven't looked great in obviously these last 3 games. Are we gonna see a repeat of 2016? But yeah, we'll wait and see a little more about that. Now we'll close it off with the Monday Nighter, the Chiefs and the Buccaneers, a rematch of a Super Bowl a couple years ago, and I mean, this one definitely lived up to the billing. I mean, we expected the Buccaneers to really struggle with obviously 2 of their best receivers out for the foreseeable future, and I mean, it was absolutely a close game. I mean, the Chiefs, they definitely seem to be hitting their stride. Pat Mahomes finally having, finally seeming like himself, close to 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. A lot of that coming from DeAndre Hopkins with 8 receptions for 86 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, sure, he had a decent debut, but this really was his coming out party for this Chiefs offense, and something we've been talking about. If he can replicate something like this and really keep it going, he's going to be a problem in this offense, and that trade's definitely going to prove to get that value back. And apart from that, we definitely got to talk, Patrick Mahomes himself, that little injury scare on that touchdown to Samaje Perine. Saw him go down. It was apparently for his ankle that we were worried about, not the knee. But yeah, I mean, we saw him go down pretty hard, goes into the blue tent, comes right back out and right back into the next drive. So no concern there. He wasn't going to want to miss any time. But regardless, Baker did do what he could down that last drive. I forget who it was. It was the second string tight end getting that touchdown, sending this game to overtime. But of course, Chiefs win the toss in overtime. And it's just a slow but steady, methodical drive to win this game. Kareem Hunt came this close to giving me that win in fantasy, but
4 points, man.
You get me down once again. Yep. So, I mean, yeah, I still haven't won against you in fantasy in that league. But, I mean, regardless, the Chiefs, 8-0, finally look to be hitting their stride. And this is when we start really worrying about the Chiefs.
Yeah, man, I'm finally eating up my words about Mahomes and Hopkins. Yeah, he's finally looking like he's in his groove now. Even though on a depleted Bucs team, Baker worked with what he had there, but really the Chiefs are finally going to scare them. But Pete, give me lock in. I will bet on the Chiefs next week, and they will lose because that always freaking happens, man.
Well, you almost bet and lost against Kareem Hunt, but yeah, just a great game for them. Wrapping up another great week of football. We finally hit that halfway point, and at the halfway point. COR records, had no disagreements in this on both 11-4. I still have that, I believe, 9-game gap on you. So let's see in the second half of the season what kind of comeback you can pull up against me. But that's pretty much going to do it for us. Thank you guys for watching for the first half of the season. Can't wait to see what more we can go for the second half. And of course, once this video's out, Election Day, make sure you guys get out and vote if you are able. And of course, thank you guys for watching. Hope you like and subscribe, and we will see you guys back for Bean Talk.